Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom with the Literature Lunatics. I'm your host, Noah Abdul. Our next guest is a world-renowned comedian, but he would tell you he's just a guy with a story to say. He's a middle-class kid from Boston who moved here to the Big Apple to fulfill his dreams. He's hung out with everyone from the likes of the average New Yorker to a man like John Rickles. He's the funniest storyteller in the world. I proudly welcome to the show Mr. Rich Murfeld. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
How you been? What have you been up to?
A whole lot of nothing. After coming back from tour, I've just been taking it easy, chilling.
That was crazy. You went to, 43 cities?
Yeah, it was by far the greatest and best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Well, Rich, tell me this. If someone were to tell you, when you were just a teen in Boston, that you'd become one of the biggest comedians in the world, would you believe them?
Absolutely freaking not, man. It's a dream come true, and I'm extremely grateful for it. Just the journey's been crazy from just, looking in the mirror in my basement in Boston to performing at the restaurant down the street, then to shitty clubs in New York, all the way to Madison Square Garden. It's crazy to think from where I started, this is where I am now. I'm so grateful.
And I understand you had a very strong relationship with your father. And I don't really want to harp on this. And I know he passed away in the last couple of years, but you've really sparked since his passing. How do you think he would have reacted to this?
Yeah, my dad was by far my biggest supporter, man. Everything I ever did was try to make him and my mom proud. But my dad was like my best friend, I remember he took me to my first Red Sox game when I was 6 years old, and he would just tell me stories of the old Red Sox, and he had something different for each player on the field. It was incredible, and yeah, it's sad, and I miss him a lot. But he was by far my biggest supporter. He came to my first gig at some crappy underground New York club. He made the trip all the way from Boston. Yeah, my dad, he was my best friend, my biggest supporter. I love him and I miss him so much.
Well, I remember this bit you said about him when he was so adamant about you being unique and different. What makes you different from the other comedians?
What makes me different is really my storytelling. Most comedians today, they do impressions or they roast other people, and that's cool. It's funny when it's done well, but I was never really that good at it. But a kid from a mid-class family from Boston with strict parents, stuck-up siblings, and dumb friends, that's a whole life of stories I could tell. And obviously, a lot of them are hilarious and they make people laugh, and they also relate to them because a lot of people are born into those similar situations where they can relate to my stories, and the joke becomes even better. When somebody can relate to a joke, it makes it a million times better. And I think that's really what kind of made me stand out and, gave me the opportunity to become a big comedian and do these tours, being relatable through these stories I love to tell.
Yeah, man, and through all of that, I guess this kind of uniquely driven comedy has gotten you some good attention. You have a legend just working with you. He took you under his wing. What's Don Rickles like?
He's an asshole, I'll tell you that. No, I'm kidding. I love Don with all my heart. He discovered me in New York and gave me a big break opening for him before I was able to get on my own specials. He saw something in me few others did. He truly earned the nickname Mr. Warmth. If he makes fun of you, it means he loves you and he respects you with all his heart. Don, I love the guy. I respect him so much. Even with the passing of my father just a few months ago, he's always been there for me, always asking if I needed something. He gave me my big break. Even now and then, if I need somebody to look over my comedy routine, I go over to Don's place and I just make a day out of it, and he'll give me tips and pointers. He's a huge inspiration for me. Yeah, I love Don with all my heart.
I think that a lot of comedians kind of come off as otherworldly in the sense that they don't seem like people, and that kind of makes you so relatable. And your most famous joke, and it might be my favorite, is the one with the French girl on the plane. And I think that all of us have been somewhere where a girl's been like unattainable for some reason or another, and I think that's why it connects so well. How exactly did you feel after you realized that she didn't speak English?
Yeah. I always cut the joke at the part where she says she speaks French. And there's a bit more to that story, and it's not really appropriate in the comedy spectrum. But basically after that, for about an hour, I was just silent on the plane, right? Like, I was so embarrassed and disappointed she was French, she didn't speak English. And then kind of out of nowhere, after like an hour and a half, she taps me on the shoulder, and she's like, sorry, I actually do speak English. I know who you are, Mr. Murfeld. I just thought with your sense of humor, I wanted to mess with you a little bit. Yeah, I know. I literally had another flash, another moment of like truth. Like, holy shit, this girl's actually perfect. She's beautiful, she's stunning, and she with this kind of sense of humor, holy, she's something else.
Wait, so did you guys like keep in contact, or?
So basically what happened is the entirety of the plane ride, we just started talking here and there. I was telling her some stories about Boston. She was telling me some stories of her living both in the States and in France, and we really hit it off. So when we finally landed in France, and she asked me to pretty much go back to her place. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, hey, we might be going somewhere with this. So yeah, one thing led to another, and we had some fun. But after that, I didn't really see her because I had my European tour, right? I was going everywhere across Europe. Until 3 months later, I had my last show in London. And I was in my hotel. This was the day before my show. I was just alone going over some routine. I was on the balcony of my hotel. And so a knock comes on the door, and it's my brother Dan. And he says to me, yo, there's a girl here that wants to talk to you. She says she knows you, girl from France. And I'm like, girl from France? And then the door opened, and I realized it was her.
No way. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so I invited her in, and I asked if she wants something to eat, anything to drink, and she said no right away. She had a look on her face that was quite concerning. Like, she didn't want to stay long. And basically, we're both on the balcony together. I was just trying to catch up with her, but she was very, very kind of quiet. And finally, she said, Rich, I have something to tell you. Uh-oh. I'm like, what's
that? Never goes well.
No, it does not. And she said, I'm pregnant. Yeah.
So how do you react to that?
Well, unfortunately, there's more. I'm pregnant. At least I was pregnant.
No way.
She had an abortion a month prior, but she felt I should know about it.
How'd that make you feel?
Well,
relieved? Did you feel bad about it?
Here's the thing. In my comedy bit, and even just a second ago, I talk about these flashes, these moments of truth, and like a little epiphany that happens. The thing is, they don't last long. They last like for almost half a second, and then like that, it's gone. The first time on the plane, I realized that, it was because this new passenger that has just come on the plane, and she's beautiful and she's stunning, and she doesn't even appreciate it. Nobody else on the plane appreciated it but me. The second time when I realized that she spoke English was a moment of pure joy. I feel like it didn't last long, but that short time we had together was a great moment to be in. And then finally, this moment right here, where she just told me that a son or daughter I may have had, I no longer had. And I sat back, I kind of looked up at the clouds, didn't say a word, and kind of just realized those clouds, they kind of look like little white elephants.